You're all set.
Thank you. Good morning. We'll call to order the meeting of the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee Thursday, November 20th. With me are legislators Mike Lane and Randy Brown. Greg Mezey is running a few minutes late. We're joined today also by legislator Mike Sigler. Welcome.
Thank you.
Are there any changes to the agenda? Public comment. We've got one blue card here, and I'm not going to run through the rules. Our speaker's been with us before, Diana Cole.
Becoming part of the family here. I have, I think, some really good things to report. I met with Nick and his committee this week. We had a very productive discussion, and I learned about some of the things that he's being overwhelmed by, and also that he actually has made some changes already in the sense of not necessarily putting up another driveway sign. Thank you very much. Also, we talked a lot about how people are being desensitized by the signs, and so we're making progress and making some changes. So I really appreciate that. And also I talked about a half hour with the DOT in Syracuse, Justin again, and they haven't really taken into consideration the environmental piece of the metal, and they're going to look into that because I gave them, as I did to you folks, a link to that. And also they're now in process of actually going down 79 and 366 to look at the signs that I was concerned about and how huge they are and how unnecessary. And he's going to look into the rates of the accidents that I guess promoted those signs being put up. So that's progress. And also I talked to Erin Cole, who is actually the environmental architect, and she's also going to look into that. So we're making some progress. So I'll let you all know. Hope you all have a really great holiday too. We have lots to be thankful for here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, and the same to you. And thanks, Nick, for following up on that. We'll look forward to future reports. Minutes from October 16th. Were there any changes, additions, corrections? If not, is there a motion to approve? Randy, second by Mike. Discussion, all in favor? Any opposed?
Is there a supervisor on duty?
Minutes approved. Appointments, we have recommendation for appointment to Tompkins Consolidated Area Transit Board of Directors, ID number 13670. And that's moved by Randy, second by Mike. And
You better hope so.
yeah, we're in trouble today if we have any dissenters. I'm looking to see the name on that.
Deborah Dawson.
Oh. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Do we need to go into executive session to discuss the merits of this candidate? Or
Probably a lengthy one.
I've got a question though.
Randy?
What is the typical term on the TCAT board? Is that a 3-year term typically? Do we know?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Shall we vote? All in favor? I don't see any opposed. Motion carries. Chair's report. I'm going to come back to the member filed resolution in just a little while. There was some action on this at Housing and Economic Development, and we'll move that down a little bit. Is there any county administrator's report? Good morning, Bridget.
Good morning. No report from county administration this morning.
Okay. Capital budget project timelines is who's going to talk to us on that one today? Is that Arel? Randy has some words to preface this with.
Yeah, so we've been working on this plan for a while, and Arel provided us a 5-year facilities and improvement plan, in which copies were provided again to everybody. And we've got bonds that will follow up on this. That's part of the discussion. But I had some questions on the actual plan itself, so that was why I wanted to bring it up.
Okay. All right, so did you want to go forward with the questions? Because this came late yesterday, and so I was not expecting, I thought the conversation was more about the funding for this, but if you have any specific questions, you can just go ahead and ask them.
Yeah, I was just doing the math.
Oh,
And so
okay.
the math didn't add up, so that's why I wanted to bring this up. So if we could just go down the list quickly.
Sure.
For each one of the buildings.
Okay.
That way it's part of record and people know what our plan is.
Okay.
So I'll be glad to read that if people don't mind. All right. So the first, this is basically a 5-year plan of all the buildings we own that need some type of work. And a lot of it's in this capital improvement stuff. And I don't really have any questions on the main courthouse, but the plan over the next 5 years on the courthouse building is about, it's $2,310,000 just for doing the building improvements that are required, which includes window replacements, roof replacement, HVAC system upgrades. So it's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so I'm fine with that one. The next one is the old jail where administration was. It's right across the street here. And that is a total of $800,000 over 5 years. And that includes electrical work, building envelope, HVAC, window replacement, all those things that are typically going to be 20-year life or more. So that was part of my question is, and this may come into administration or finance, as to how long we're actually going to be financing these for, which will come up in our later discussion. The next one is the Daniel D. Tompkins building. That's this building we have here. And again, we have another roof replacement, which is going to be $450,000. There's envelope improvements, the elevator modification. That's all going to hopefully happen next year. But then as you go, and the total work that's going to be done in this building is $1,380,000. But my question on this one, in the last two, none of these expenses include the modification work that we're planning as part of the center government building?
Correct. Right. Those things have been removed from these improvements. Yes.
So these are just, basic improvements without any renovations inside?
Correct.
Okay. And then the next one is the whole health building on Green Street. Generator window replacements. There are a lot of windows on that building. And that building is 25 years old?
Whole Health, Green Street, yeah, 90, I think 3.
Yeah, so those windows are over
More.
30 years old.
Right.
Yeah. So and the total work on that one is $2.2 million on that one. I noticed that we don't have anything on the public safety building here because that would be a totally separate bond for any work that may be done there. That would be a large project for there.
Right. And we just completed about a year ago those short-term improvements, like $4.75 million, which was supposed to hold us over until we did the larger project back in, that would be starting probably 2030, 2031. But that would be a separate capital project, correct?
Did we bond this work or did we pay for it? I can't remember how. Was it out of our capital plan?
For the short-term improvements?
For that $4.5 million. Or did that maybe come out of the ARPA funds maybe? I don't remember where that money came
It was a combination. I think some ARPA, some may have been just cash. I don't think we bonded for the balance of the public safety building. Norma is the one that would know that for sure.
I don't believe we did. However, I can check to verify whether we did or not.
Okay, I think you're right. And the next one is so no funds are planned for that over the next 5 years other than if we take on a big project there.
Correct.
The next one is the public library. We've been talking about that for a while. Next year, we're talking about the exterior work, and then HVAC, some other flooring work. But and that's only $270,000. But the big one is going to be the roof replacement in 2030, which is $2.6 million, and then other work. But the total project cost for the library over 5 years is $3.275 million for that one.
Right.
I really appreciate putting this all together because it will get us up to speed and, for the future. The next one is the Public Works Facility. We're looking next year at a roof over the vehicle area. That's a big building, $1.4 million just for the roof for that. And other work, HVAC, flooring, other things. Next year, a little less than $2 million of work there. And that's the majority of the work there. Over 5 years, we're looking at $2.285 million for the Public Works Facility on Bostwick Road. The next one is the Human Service Building. This one is numerous work there. There's a parking lot needs to be redone. Another roof replacement. We're doing a lot of roofs. And typically would those typically be a 20-year roofs, or how do you look at those?
Yeah, those are 20, 25 years, depending. The more recent roofs that we've installed, we try to get a longer warranty, 25, 30 if we can get it.
Okay, thank you for that. And there's other work to be done. There's windows, there's a cooling tower, all those things that just need to be done. And the total work, the Human Service Building over 5 years is $2.84 million.
Can I ask one question on that?
Mike, has a question.
The cooling tower, isn't that the one that froze and we had to replace it not very long ago?
Yeah, that froze during construction, actually.
And it's already due for another replacement?
Yeah. I mean, that building is, it's 28 years old, built in 97. Yeah. Those don't last as long. I mean, especially this is an outdoor cooling tower, so exposed to the elements. I mean, that's where we're planning. That's where we'd like to do it. Then what happens, typically we'll just push it back, delay it more and more.
All right.
But we've had problems with it more on the pumps and the fans probably over the last 3 to 4 years. I mean, nothing significant, but we've made several replacements of pumps and fan motors and such.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, the next area is the Solid Waste Office for recycling and material management. Not a lot of things going on there, but a lot of work. It's about $300,000 over the 5-year period. But I had a question on this. That's an enterprise fund. Don't they pay for that? Where does that money come from?
I mean, on the building itself, we pay for those improvements. If that can be changed, that's great. But typically, we've paid for these types of repairs and improvements to the building.
Okay, I would like to change that. And the next one is the Emergency Response Center, about $580,000 over 5 years. HVAC system there, as well as carpets, a roof replacement, other things for that. And the next one is the Human Service Annex. Nothing really planned for next year, but another roof replacement planned in 2027, about $300,000 over 5 years. Then we have the whole health building on Brown Road. Primarily a resurfacing of the parking lot is the biggest expense there, and $410,000 over 5 years. And then the DMV, even though we lease that, property, we need a new fire alarm system, which is planned for next year for $40,000. So if you look at all these over the 5-year period, we're looking at $4.4 million in 2026, $5.1 million in 2027, about $2 million in 2028, another $2 million in 2029, and $3 million in 2030. And I don't know what those all add up to, but
Yeah, 16,750. Yeah, I've got
So
it
a little less
on the
than-
screen, yeah.
okay. When you look at these, Orel, do you try to factor in some type of inflation, or how do you look at that?
Yeah, and it's hard to predict. I mean, this is our best guess, now what those costs will be. And so, yeah, there is a little buffers to cover possible inflation and such on the numbers. Our expectation is once we get closer to these projects, we'll have much firmer estimates. But for planning purposes, these are, plus or minus 10 to 20%, possibly.
Okay. I think it's really important that we went through this and you did this work, Orel. I appreciate it because it really allows us to plan. We won't have these big surprises that may happen. Also makes the buildings better.
Right.
And saves on emergency repairs and those kinds of things. So I think this is really important that we can get it in our capital plan. So thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
Mike, might be a good time to interject this about the public safety building. That project just has to go on. Had we actually done the work that we had planned to do in 2005, the improvements would have been done there. We would have had the pods, that kind of thing, and it would be 2/3 paid for by now.
Right.
And now it's been kicked down the road again a couple years ago in favor of doing the Center of Government building first. But for the folks that are going to be on this legislature starting next year, that project has got to move forward.
Randy.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for your thoughts on that. I agree we need to figure something out there. But I believe we put $1 million in our capital plan for design.
Yes.
But we have not done any design work
We've not
there.
started that yet.
And that was for 2025, I believe.
Yeah, we pushed it to next year, I think, because of the Center of Government. But yeah, that's something we'd like to start, kind of preliminary and schematic design on that project. I mean, Michael's right. I've been 25 years on the public safety building project. We keep kicking it down the road, and that's why I said like 3 years ago that if we're going to keep delaying that project, we have to do something, and that's what that 4.75 was. I know back, Jason approached me 4 years ago. I said, well, what can we do for $1 million? I said, very little. And so we came up, we redid a building condition assessment. We've done 3 in those 25 years. And then based on that, we picked the most critical improvements that we had to do in the building. And so from that's where we came up with the 4.75. There are many other things that we wanted to do. So, I mean, if you walk through the building, we've replaced ceilings, but it's hot, certain areas. But the rest of the ceilings are the original ceilings. Flooring is the same. We invested a lot of time and effort in the kitchens, in the dorm showers, and the HVAC. What we really want to do, which we can't do until we do a large project, is do a major overhaul in the HVAC. Well, the only thing we could do is basically replace in-kind heat pumps with more energy-efficient heat pumps. But really what we want to do is centralize everything so that all the maintenance of the HVAC mechanical systems is on the non-secure side. Right now, to do any maintenance, you have to go into the secure side. We have 48 heat pumps, that you have to get to. You have to get up above the ceiling. You have to, in many cases, open up the ceiling, drop the heat pump, and close the ceiling up. You can't leave the ceiling unexposed or accessible like we can in any other building. So it's very, very labor intensive. So we want to centralize everything where you have heat pumps all in one room and then just ductwork out to the cell blocks. We've not been able to do that. The only way you can do that is to basically shut down the jail and board out everyone, which is what we would do if we did the major project. If we had done the project back then, because we'd already hired design consultants. We had done the schematic. We had the estimate, which was 28 million, which would have given us a slightly larger jail as far as inmate beds, but would have provided all the program space. It would have been 28 million. Now, I mean, estimates are probably in the upper 50s to low 60s, more than double, and it would be a smaller jail as far as the correction side. It would be 80 beds versus 134, which it was back then. We would still have everything else on the program side and sheriff's admins, road patrol, and civil. So that's the unfortunate thing, is that you're getting less and you're paying a lot more by just delaying it.
Randy?
I know Norma's not here, but another thing to ask Gerald is the public safety building in our capital plan now. So that can come back to me on that. I did speak to Sheriff Osborne about whether or not the sheriff's office and the corrections services need to be in the same building. And he didn't feel they need to be. So that may be something we need to look at.
Mike?
And actually, Randy, we have looked at that in the past when there was a building pretty close to the public safety building that we thought might become available, but then it didn't end up being for sale. And but yes, that's a good point.
Right. Actually, it was twice. One was the one right next to the public safety building. It was, they did testing, drug testing for racehorses. Yep. We looked at the space. We're actually going to start some schematic design. And then apparently that firm got another grant or something. And so they decided not to move out. And then this is maybe 4 years ago, we looked at the one just 2 properties over, the Owanahee property, which was perfect. Angweowe. Yeah, that's right. I always get, in any case. So we looked at that, and that was a perfect size for the sheriff's admin, civil, and road patrol. We only had to put in one small partition and doorway. And I think Jason at the time just was not in favor of doing that. That would have been part of the a ground lease as well, but it was a perfect size. And actually on the backside, we would have been able to, through the airport, provide an access road from there to the public safety building. And actually also, when we do move forward with the public safety building project, the Dutch Mill Road property would be ideal for swing space or permanent space for civil road patrol and sheriff's admin, size-wise. So yeah, we've looked at it several times. It doesn't have to be. I think they would prefer it to be, but it's not essential that it be in the same building.
Thank you.
Well, it's helpful to have all those different aspects and potentials, fallbacks. I appreciate this report coming back out again. I did make mention at one of the previous legislature meetings that you had given us a slideshow presentation with this content sometime back, and my recommendation is that with 6 new legislators coming out of 6 or more, 8 out of what?
7 new ones, right?
Well, half the legislature being new.
Somewhere around there. We've lost track.
I guess we've got 8 returning and 2 new seats and 6 replacements. So yeah, 8 and 8. All right. Half the legislature's new, and I think that as they're doing orientation, that I really think one part I'd like to incorporate or have them incorporate is maybe you just talking about the facilities and using that as a basis, because we did reference the deferred maintenance through the budget process and the fact that we got to come back. Just my quick back of the envelope numbers here is out of the $16+ million, over 7 of it's for roofs and over 3 of it's for windows. So that's
and many of those deferred, like the one for the public works facility. That one we priced out pre-COVID and then post-COVID, thinking that the number, and then we wanted to wait to see if supply chain issues would drive the numbers down. It did very little. I mean, that's a 1.4 million. Currently, we get 1.4 million in our capital facilities restoration project. So that would basically wipe out just 1 year. It's not a top priority, but the longer you wait, it becomes more of a priority. I mean, if it were a building where we had, occupants' offices, obviously we would have done it sooner, but that's one we've pushed, 5 years now, and we just really need to address it.
Reminder again, we're putting 1 point what in?
So annually we get 1.4 million for our facilities restoration capital project. So that covers many of these types of projects. But as you saw there, just for next year, we've got 4.5. So there's no way we could do, with 1.4. And actually the last 2 years, that's been cut in half. It's 700,000. And so that's what was proposed for next year. And that's why I said, and then many of you asked, well, what can you do for, and how much that's why I prepared this, showing the 700,000 is only a scratch of the surface of what we really need to do.
Yeah, 16.7 plus
right.
Over 5 years and
right.
1 point. What was the number? 1.1.
1.4 is typically what we've been getting, but the last couple of years it's been cut in half.
Cut to 7. Yeah. So a long ways to go. You
right.
Clearly need upwards of $4 million a year. Mike.
I hate to prolong the public safety thing, but I'm only here for one more meeting after this. And I just wanted to say two things. One, take the new people and this committee, right, if you're chairing it, whoever is, to visit some other jails that have the pod systems so they get to understand the efficiency. We just had to add 2 new posts at the jail because of the design of our jail is the straight line, and that meant we had to add 2 new employees because of that. And they can do the same kind of monitoring of the prisoners of the pod system with fewer people.
Right.
And it works better. And I just think to have them tour some of those around would be a great idea. There's another point I wanted to make, but I'll move on.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for the discussion. While we got Arel here, are there any reports from facilities or buildings?
We are moving quickly this week to finish up improvements for the Code Blue on Cherry Street, which is due to be open this coming Monday at 8 a.m. We've only had a month. We're really 3.5 weeks into the month that we've had to make those improvements compared to 3 months that we had last year for Key Bank. We should be on track. They added something that was unexpected day before yesterday, so we're trying to accommodate that. But so far, it's going. We've found some unforeseen conditions. The slab is much thicker. They started saw cutting into it. It was 2-inch top, and then it was 6 inches below that. They broke the demolition saw, so they had to rent another one. So it's just taking longer, and these unforeseens are affecting it. We will work through the weekend if need be to be ready. I mean, the other system, fire alarm system, was tested yesterday. That passed, so we're operational there. We've got the exterior lighting should be done today. The bathroom is really where the focus is right now. We've already done all the plumbing for the washers and dryers, for the resident washer and dryers, and for the commercial. Right now, they've already exposed they've removed the slab, and they'll be starting the underground drainage piping. So lots happening in the next couple of days. So
we appreciate the update and your prioritizing this in your work. And I would call attention to Chairman Klein's comments toward the beginning of the meeting Tuesday night, where he gave an overview of the efforts to get Code Blue designated and opened, and I think really outlined it quite well as
yes.
to what the challenges you've had to work with.
I mean, and it's great. I mean, in comparison last year, although we had more time to prepare it, it was a smaller space. It was 4,200 square feet. We had an outdoor restroom trailer. Here we've got nearly 8,000 square feet, so much more space for additional residents if they need it. We've got indoor bathrooms. We've got showers. That's what we're putting in. They've got space for nonprofits to meet with the residents. We have a separate dorm for females, which we didn't last year. That was all in the same space. They just had to put a little kind of barrier. It's much better space, larger. It doesn't look as nice, as a key bank, but we did hear comments last year for some of the residents at Key Bank that it felt more like a jail or prison because there was so much concrete inside. This one seems a little more, I guess, welcoming. So I'm really happy that, at least for the positives, and I know that that's what Brittany, Commissioner of DSS, has said, focus on the positives, not negatives. Yeah, we can always do a little more, do more painting or paint the floors, but I think for the time that we've had to prepare this space, I think we've done quite a bit of work. And that's been a great partnership with Volunteers of America, ourselves and DSS in getting this ready.
Well, the very point of the building is inside.
Right.
Randy?
Yeah, I remember at a prior meeting, you told us you really need to know by July 1st to really do things right. So thanks for doing cartwheels to get this done. I'm actually touring the facility tomorrow at 9, if anybody wants to join me. What about the parking lot? The holes and all that stuff.
Oh, those actually highways here. It's great partnership with Highway, and actually I mentioned them every time we did the tour day before yesterday, that the County Highway Department filled in the potholes, and I call them more craters. I mean, you could lose half your car in some of those. So no, those were all filled in last Thursday and Friday, and it's great. And I think
great. Thanks
so.
For that.
Thank you to Nick and his crew for doing that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thanks.
Terry has his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Terry. Yeah. Terry Carroll, Sustainability Coordinator. And your volume's not on. Not yet.
Me?
Now you can.
Now?
Yes.
We got
Any
you now.
chance? Yeah. Okay. I wanted to jump in while Raul was still here. Just a quick update on the solar array at the health department. We've ran into a little bit of a last minute design snag with where we were going to be putting the foundation and the footers for the actual racking for the solar panels. So we're going to have to bump it into the parking lot a little bit. It'll bump the cars parked back about 3 feet, but shouldn't cause a major issue. Aurel and I were on the site 2 days ago, and we're taking a look at it. We met with Cornell to talk about the design change. They seem to be fine with it. We've received the amendment that Cornell wants to make to the ground lease in order to allow for the construction of the solar array. That is with county administration and the county attorney's office. So pending any comments from them, I wanted to bring it to this committee first, but unfortunately I don't know that we'll be able to. So I was just wanting to reach out, Lee, to see if there would be a potential to member file that for the December legislature meeting to get the amendments through for that particular contract so that we can start construction this year. We're still hoping to aim sometime in that first week of December. So I didn't want to shock anyone or to come as a surprise, but that's something that needs to get done kind of ASAP.
No, bring that forward, Terry, and we'll make sure that it moves ahead. You've got several legislators here today, and I think the entire body's aware that this has a significant time element to it to be able to meet the credits. So.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. So we're waiting for the final review from admin in the attorney's office, and then I'll get that filed in, and we'll make sure everyone gets a look at what those amendments look like ahead of time.
Thanks, Terry.
Great, thank you.
Any further questions? If not, Randy?
Do we need a special downtown facilities committee meeting in December? The first week of December?
No.
Okay.
No, I
Right,
don't foresee
great.
that.
Thank you. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's go back to Chair's report, item 6A, and we have a member-filed resolution, and I'll read it in and get it on the floor, and also make note of a change to the one that's on the resolution, and it's architectural glass and metal technician and North American contractor certification requirements for glazier work on Tompkins County projects, ID number 13705. And there is a change to what was distributed. The third resolved has to be striked as we did not get a recommendation from Housing and Economic Development. But I think Greg will fill us in on that. And have we got someone that wants to put this on the floor? Randy, second, Greg. And who'd like to speak to this? Mike, I think it's, you're the member that's
Yes.
begun that filing.
Yes. So if I could, I would like to defer to the two gentlemen I brought with me. So Frank and Joe, they can explain kind of what this is and why I wanted to bring this forward. So if I could invite them to one of the mics, that would be great.
Please come up.
They're going to do a better job of it than I am.
Who'd like to introduce the two gentlemen here? Or have you introduce yourselves?
Good morning. Is that right on?
Yeah, sure.
Can hear. Okay. Good morning, and thank you for bringing the resolution to committee today. My name is Frank Steno, and this is Joe Comfort. We're both representatives with the International Union of Painters, Drywall Finishers, and Glazers. We cover all of Western and Central New York, 33 counties in our capacities. We are local. We have our office here in Tompkins County on 701 West State Street in the city of Ithaca. And I sit as the Secretary Treasurer of the Tompkins Cortland Building and Construction Trades Council. So just a brief overview. This resolution, at the end of the day, its intentions are to elevate the industry as well as offer value to county taxpayers. And so quick, talking about the industry a little bit, the glass, glazing, fenestration, architectural metal panel industry has rapidly evolved over the last 10, 15 years. And really when it was originally came a part of the Painters and Drywall Finishers Union, it was more wood sash, window putty, glazing, and obviously this industry is rapidly involved. So in keeping pace with the industry and the projects that our glazers and our glazing contractors are now performing, we wanted to look at industry standards that would improve value, would improve safety for these projects. So the North American Contractor Certification deals with quality assurance issues. It deals with safety standards, and there's full audits by an independent third party. It's called Administrative Management Systems that conducts these audits for contractors in the glass, glazing, architectural, metal field. New York State has 15 contractors now that are North American Contractor Certified. This is not a union certification. This is open to private contractors as well as union signatories. And on the opposite end of that is the installer certification. That's the AGMT, also known as the Architectural, Glass, and Metal Technician Installer Certification. So we're looking at these, the rapid advancement of these building envelope projects and the install process. And just like you would with plumbing or electrical, as we mentioned in the HED meeting, you would want somebody that is competent, that is doing the install process, who who would be a licensed plumber or a licensed electrician. This is our comparable of a standardized certification to make sure that we have the best value, the most competent installers on site. And I'll actually, to my right here, Joe Comfort is an AGMT glazer, and so maybe he can expand on that a little bit.
Sure, thanks, Frank. As Frank had mentioned, this isn't a union or non-union certification. It's also not trade specific. So I am a glazer by trade. However, there are other trades out there that sort of claim this work, if you will. So it's also not, that's kind of some pushback we've gotten, from some legislatures and questions. And actually at the last committee, it was a question that, we received. There are local contractors here that aren't necessarily glazing specific contractor. There's a carpentry based contractor, non-union out of Syracuse, and there are carpenters that have the certification. Basically, anybody that is in this space that performs this work and knows the systems, they could take the test, and it's open to anybody, right? So, one last thing I'd like to add before, probably I'm sure you have questions. Frank did a great job of that, with the involvement of the glass and glazing, the industry, and how it's, taken off. The way construction used to be, it used to be a lot of brick, right? Now it's a lot of glass. Most buildings are out of glass. And the way the process, it's constantly evolving. This test really helps, train the next generation of installers, right? And just one last thing I'd like to add is, I was looking at a presentation Frank and I were at by lawyers that are in the facade failure, the litigation space. And, they gave reports and stats that 70% of all construction litigation is on facade failures, right? So exactly the industry that we're in. So this certification teaches the right way to help mitigate that. So, I'll kind of cut it off there and take questions.
Couple questions. Is there any movement at the state level to incorporate these types of requirements into the building codes?
So yes, we have a couple of bills on the floor right now, and we're meeting as we are at the local level, at the state level as well. We have a lot of support for it, and looking to get it passed this session.
The other question would be, maybe Arel can help me with this, or if it's not one you can answer. With public works projects, government projects in the state, you get the requirements to have 4 or 5 different contracts, heating, ventilation, general contract, plumbing, electric, et cetera. Where do you generally fall within those public works type bids for government projects? Does it fall under the work of the general contractor? And are there requirements built in, similarly to require this type of work that you're aware of?
So I can answer half of that question. I guess it would be more of a talking about like prime bid versus not prime bid. So sometimes this work is under a prime bid, so our contractors would be a prime, but sometimes they're a subcontractor, so they'd fall under that. As far as everything else, I can't, unless you can answer that, Frank.
I'll just comment that I think we're referring to as Wick's Law. So this typically falls underneath general construction package. And in that general construction package, especially when it comes to the specifications related to glass, glazing, and architectural metal, there would be in that bid spec a requirement that would state, the language that is in the resolution for these projects in the area. Now, we waited. This has been out for 8-9 years. We've been working diligently behind the scenes with architects from all across our jurisdiction in 33 counties that we cover, and creating buy-in from those architects and showing them the value. So this specification has been coming out naturally, grassroots through architects. It's doubled every year since we've started introducing these third-party certifications. And what we're looking to do through our outreach efforts to the different county ledge and also at a state level is to just codify this so that at the end of the day for us, we look at it as now we're putting standards into an industry that we care very passionately about, and also giving a base level for the installers, which we have an invested effort in with the training that we do at our various training centers. But once again, this is something that is open for contractors and installers, both working in the union sector as well as private.
The resolution calls for the requirement to be on Tompkins County contracts that exceed $1 million for renovation and projects and $5 million for new construction. So there's substantial projects, and of course several of the ones that Rel outlined on the last report. This would certainly be in that range. What's your competition out there as far as non-union or non-certified folks? Are the bulk of those here locally that would be bidding on these size and scope projects, do they fall within these requirements now, or is that limited number?
So I'd say it's about 60-40, as far as the contractors that do this work. But I just wanted to touch on the monetary. The reason why the monetary values are set is not to disenfranchise any contractor, right? So for example, on a door replacement or just a piece of broken glass, it didn't really seem to make sense not, to have, the certification there. So the small mom and pop shops that might not ever get the certification because they don't do the massive work, that's why there's a monetary value, and we thought it was a fair monetary value. Now this certification is already adopted and put forth in Monroe County, Broome County, and the city of Rochester. We are currently working in Erie County, Niagara County, and Onondaga County to try to get this passed as well, and also at the state level, something that we didn't mention before. So hopefully that answers your question as far as union versus not union, and then again also glazer shops versus not glazer shops, right? So that way, again, you can't disenfranchise anyone.
Excuse me, Katie Borgella is with us, our Director of Planning and Sustainability.
Hi, I just wanted to share with people that I attended a developers summit in Binghamton a couple days ago, or Tuesday, and part of the discussion point there was the impact that the Micron development is going to have on the trades and construction in general. And I just wanted to share that with you all because I don't know anything about a glazier certification, but the idea of limiting our construction supply in our contracts moving forward could cause some problems that we might not be thinking about now, but they're saying for honestly the next 10 years it's going to be very hard to find construction workers in our area to do our projects. Just wanted to share that bit with you. Thanks.
Thanks, Kate. Randy.
I had a acquaintance in the concrete business, and he said the same thing, that the demand for concrete by that development up there is going to cause some challenges. So thanks for that. I have a question for you. Could you just quickly explain to everybody what glazing is, and what is the benefit? Is there a financial, environmental benefit for what you're?
Sure. So glazing is, to summarize it, is just the glass you see on the outside of the building. Now, glazier does more than just glass. We do architectural panels as well, storefront entrances, doors, things of that nature, right? So when you go outside, it's where I like to say we're the coolest trade that you've never heard of. You walk downtown Ithaca, everything you see that's glass, we do, and probably you've never even heard of us before, right? So, that hopefully that answers that question. As far as the impact and the reason for this is, again, as more buildings become glass and things like that, and as I mentioned earlier, 70% of construction litigation certification is facade failures. When you have glass that is not installed right, water can get into the building, creates mold. As everybody knows, having mold and, what's the word there? When you're trying, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank to the word here for when you're trying to get rid of mold, but I'm sure, thank you, remediation. That gets very expensive. So having the proper installers that understand how our glazing systems work, because they're meant to, they're and designed to take in water and then weep water. So if it's not installed properly, when the water is coming into the system and it's coming into the building instead of going out of the building, that's where these things happen, right? You can ruin carpets, ceiling tiles, drywall, again, mold. It can affect the way the building's performing with the HVAC because the building needs to be, and I'm drawing a blank again for the words, so I'm not HVAC technician myself, but as far as the way the building performs with the HVAC systems itself, having air infiltration through the glass and the curtain wall systems can affect that and make the HVAC systems run harder, right, which would cost more money to the end user, the owner of the building. So does that kind of answer questions for you there?
Greg, then Mike.
A question for Arel. At some point you gotta get put on the spot, Arel, as the one who deals with all of this. Your opinion or thoughts on the resolution, and then I have two other follow-ups.
Well, I mean, if I had known about this ahead of time, my concern is similar to Katie's, is that we don't want to limit the contractors that can bid on a project. And so not knowing who, what contractors are already certified, that's the only concern. I think if I had more time, I've talked to like Holt for the upcoming project, because that's got a lot of glazing involved. Any specification which was noted before, we usually put if there are any special certifications required. These are new. These aren't ones that we've typically included in our glazing specifications before. So that's my only hesitation, is I'd rather not move on this too quickly. I want to make sure that we have ample competition when it comes to bidding the project. I think the threshold limits are fine. Most of, the repairs that we do for any buildings are well below the $1 million, so that doesn't concern me because the local glazing company does not have these certifications. But on the larger projects, I think if I have a good sense that there are ample contractors that could bid this, that have bid this before certified, because I have no idea how long it takes to go through the certification process, both through the contractor and the glazing technicians. So I just want to make sure it doesn't prevent a lot of contractors that we've dealt with in the past from competing for some of these projects. It's good to hear that it's not union or open shop based. I know years ago we did pass another resolution on large projects where they have to be at least go through a certification, apprentice certification process, which can be either union, they always do that, but there are also a lot of open shop, larger ones that can or do have apprenticeship programs. So that's my only hesitation at this point. I have no qualms if we were to do the research or get that information, and I feel comfortable that many of the glazing large contractors in our area. We don't have any large ones in Ithaca, but Syracuse, there's Binghamton Plate Glass. I don't know if they're certified or others. So I'd like to know that before this. As I said, I heard about this day before yesterday, so it didn't really give me a lot of time to do the research. But that's basically my input. It's easy to include it in the specifications. We do that on many other divisions for certain certifications. I'm just not that familiar with these.
Did you have follow-up?
I'll follow up later.
Mike?
Yeah, a couple of things. As far as Micron is concerned, I noticed that they're moving that start date back another 2 years to 2030, while they're going great guns in Idaho building right now. So we keep our fingers crossed, but who knows what's going to happen with that project. So I think we have to think about locally here. I'm very pleased to hear that we have a office for this union in Tompkins County. I've been reading over the last couple of years about the glazier industry, and that it has some very high-paying jobs available to people who are trained, and that there's been a shortage of people trying to get into that, for the industry trying to get people trained. I wondered, what does your union do about training locally? And I think that's important for workforce. And then I have a question for Arel.
I'll just speak with some of the branding and awareness opportunities we do for glazing. We work with Tompkins Build program as far as introducing and exposing local residents to the benefits of the glazing trade, and we're in most of the schools in the vicinity, in the area, promoting not only the glazing trade, but painters and drywall finishers and industrial painters that we represent as well. As far as glazer training, I'm going to leave that to Joe, as he is our expert, and he's helping to develop upcoming curriculum, but also familiar with the current training that we do. So.
Sure. I mean, we have a 4-year, 8,000-hour apprenticeship program, and we also do journey person upgrading training when it comes to it, because we do get, people, journey persons, if you will, that come from the non-union, and they're able to buy their card, buy their book, and, we have the continuing education. Hopefully that answers I can really nerd out if you guys want and get really down, but I'm sure nobody wants to hear about it, the exact stuff we do, but that answers your question.
But I know, for example, the electricians have a full training center here in Ithaca, and it would certainly be nice if something like that were to be developed and maybe work with our community college in some way to try to expose more young people to that trade.
We do work with MMOS at the community college, TC3, and we also, our training facility is in Cortland. It's, it's close enough to where we're able to bring in people in from Syracuse, Elmira, Binghamton, Ithaca. So, we need to be strategic with investing in training centers and all of the staff that goes around those. So
I didn't know you had one in Cortland, so that's
yes, we do.
That's good news.
That is our training facility for Central New York.
And for Arel, I just wanted to ask you, we have $1 million level on some of the other things that we have for projects. Is that WICS or what? I can't remember what it's for.
That's for what I said, the apprenticeship program. If it's capital projects above
the apprenticeship program.
Right. And so we. Over the years, we've bid projects. We've had open shop, but they have had apprenticeship programs. The state keeps track of both union and non-union
Thanks
companies.
for reminding me about that. But I certainly agree that we ought to allow Arel to have some time to look into this and be interested, since we've got this big project coming forward for Center of Government. It'd be interesting to get, maybe you can talk to our architects and see if they have an opinion on it as well.
Right. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, reading the documents that were shared. I think elevating, certifications for the trades is good. We have a lot of requirements in other areas for certifications. My only concern is I just want to make sure we have ample contractors in our region that are certified and could bid on the work, rather than bringing companies from Albany or downstate to do the work.
Thanks, Earl. Mike, was that a motion to table to the December meeting? Action?
Sure. Postpone, motion to postpone until our meeting in December.
Second. Randy, to that, or Greg, did you have follow-up?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to tabling it. I had a couple of edits to the resolution. One of the things I wanted to ask Arel is if there was maybe a need to put some sort of waiver or condition in here. Should there be a lack of competitive bids, or should there be substantial delay to project completion because of this? I would maybe suggest some sort of that language.
I mean, if that language were inserted now, then I would support it. I mean, for us, that we would have an out.
Yeah.
But
So one of the things that, I mean, I just wrote this up, and the idea of delaying or tabling or not, which again, I'm not opposed to, but I put further on the discretion of the Director of Finance, or sorry, the Director of Facilities, a waiver of this policy can be issued if a lack of competitive bids meeting these requirements exists and would substantially delay project completion. If such a waiver is granted, it needs to report it to the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. And then there's some other further resolved if we choose to adopt this, because the resolution out of HED was to refer this to Facilities and Infrastructure Committee. One, we felt as a committee very strongly that we believe in job training and certification, the opportunity, professional advancement as it relates to trades, and, you know, further accreditation and, you know, those type of activities as it relates to economic development was important. We didn't feel in our committee the facilities experts, so that's why the direction was to send it here. Also, Mike is a member of that committee, and you know, there was a sort of a natural fit to start the conversation. But we would need to retool some of the resolves in the resolution to say on the recommendation of the Facilities and Infrastructure Committee, et cetera. So there's some tweaking that needs to be done on the back end, but my only recommendation would be a potential opportunity for waiver to be cautioned with limited, you know, use, knowing the intent of the policy is to have this in place. But I don't want to tie our hands on future projects, with all respect to our friends in the trades. If something does arise, or we do need to have something, and the unknowns of large scale development across the region. So I guess the challenge then to all of you would be to make sure as many people have this as possible. And the challenge to us would be to make sure we have, you know, attractive bid specs to get as many people to respond as possible.
Mike. Did you call on me? I'm
Yes.
sorry. I just want to say that I think that's all the more reason we ought to just put it over a month and see if we can't get the language so that we could all agree to it.
Good point.
Is that?
I'd rather table it than add that language, to be honest with you, because I think that's kind of the point of doing something, right, is to say, okay, this is the certification you need. And I actually, they've done pretty good background work over the last 9 years. Most of the larger contractors in the area have this. I mean, when he was saying 60-40, I think you were including some of the smaller guys, but the big guys, I think.
The 60-40 number was union to non-union, not 60-40 to have it. Sorry if I wasn't supposed to jump in, but I could answer a couple of your questions if you want as well. The glazing industry for the contractors, we're not talking like a carpentry base where there's 1,000 contractors across New York State. We're probably talking 20 or 25, right, that do this work. It's a very small niche industry. As far as how fast to get the certification, I've seen contractors get it in 2 months. I've seen contractors take a year. It depends on how fast and diligently they're working on that, right? So hopefully that answers it. But to Mike's point, every large contractor that's going to do work, union or non-union, has a certification. And again, the monetary thresholds, the small contractors that'll probably never get it, to do the work that will be done here locally, they're not going to need it because that work will never meet that monetary threshold. Hopefully that
We've been building up this capacity over the course of the last 5 years, really, where we've been putting the work in on the back end prior to coming and, you know, and introducing any legislation. So we're confident with your research and background on who has a certification and who would be capable of completing these projects, that would not be an issue.
Well, what I'm hearing is the committee's friendly toward further discussion, and we do want to give staff some opportunity to review as well. With a postponement of the action, we could at least have a substituted resolution or an amended resolution at the next meeting, depending on how that meets the committee's desires.
I mean, if you're open to that, that would be great. And I have to apologize to Arel. I should have sent maybe this earlier to you. But thank you for taking a look at it. I know you're just really busy. So that's fine.
Lee,
Yes.
if I may, I just want to remind members that the December F&I committee has been rescheduled, and that is for December 4th. So that means that the agenda for that meeting will go out next Thursday.
Okay.
On Thanksgiving?
Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Further discussion? All in favor of Mike's motion to postpone? Any opposed? And we'll continue the discussion. And thank you.
Thank you for your time.
December 4th.
Being with us. It's given what we've reviewed this morning, it's good material, good additional insight into the industry and some of what we should be looking at as we pursue some ambitious projects here.
So December 4th, 9 a.m.?
Is it at 9?
Okay.
What day of the week is that?
Thursday?
That's a Thursday, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have our Director of Finance with us here, Daryl, and a number of resolutions that I know were discussed at, action was taken at Budget and Capital last week. And do you have any report, or do you just want to go right into these?
I don't have any report for this committee, so I'm acceptable with going straight into the resolutions.
I'll bring them up and we can comment as we go. Resolution A, 9A, bond resolution authorizing issuance of up to $1,950,000 serial bonds in notes of the County of Tompkins, New York, to pay a portion of the cost of reconstructing Fall Creek Road Bridge located within the county, ID number 13696. Is there a motion? Mike? Second, Randy. Project that we've discussed for quite some time. You're ready to move ahead on it? Randy?
Yeah, so when did this project start? Is it planned for next year, or?
Yes, it is planned. Everything, is moving forward. We can't guarantee that with all the DOT and DEC and all that, but everything we have points to next year.
And how long, Daryl, would this bond be for?
Well, first off, let me, I forgot to introduce, we have online remote Bill Marcoy, who is our bond counsel, in case there's any legal questions. Hello, Bill. For this one, I want to first point out that the $1,950,000 is actually the estimated total cost of the project itself, not necessarily what we will bond or borrow at all. And for this project, after talking with Nick, and I believe there will be some more discussions as we get a little closer, the initial plan is to actually just ban, which is a bond anticipation note, because all we really need is cash flow for this project. Because 75% or more is, there's a good likelihood of reimbursement for state or federal funds. We haven't decided on an amount, so we're going to work together and include county administration and figure out the best amount to ban just for cash flow needs.
Thank you for that.
Mike.
Just wanted to point out that all of these bond resolutions were approved at Budget Committee. We thought more detailed discussion would probably be here.
Thanks. Further discussion on Resolution A, Fall Creek Road. Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we need roll call on this? Or that's just at the legislature? Do we have to do a roll call?
Just for the ledge.
Just for the legislature, I'm hearing. Resolution B, a bond resolution authorizing the issuance of up to $2.4 million serial bonds and notes, County of Tompkins, New York, to pay a portion of the cost of road and highway system reconstruction and improvements at various locations throughout the county, ID number 13697. Is there a motion? Randy. Second, Mike. Questions?
Just kind of, we've done this for many years, but this would be a ban as well?
It's still kind of in the early stages. The timing of these resolutions have to go through well before I get a chance to consult fiscal advisors and work with the project managers, department heads, and county administration. I have had some initial early talks with Nick here, and I believe at the moment there is no availability of CHIPS or state funding currently. If that changes at any point, we may look into a ban. However, we still have to strategize and figure that out, but right now I think we're leaning towards the possibility of a bond.
And so typically, for these types of road work, the number of years is typically 20 years that you would bond for this, or is it less than that? Or
So the PPU, or period of probable usefulness, for this project is 10 years. What that means is we can borrow up to 10 years. It's just the maximum. If it makes sense after consulting with everyone and strategizing to do less, then we will, but otherwise it can go up to 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Shall we vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Move on to Resolution C, a bond resolution authorizing issuance of up to $3,430,000 serial bonds and notes of the County of Tompkins, New York, to acquire certain machinery and apparatus for construction and maintenance, ID 13698. Moved by Greg, second by Mike. Questions? Mike?
What are we buying?
Currently on the list is a dirt roller, grader, shoulder loader, hydro seeder, guide rail truck, pneumatic roller, grade all, broom tractor, 10-wheel plow truck, large excavator, and a tractor trailer plow truck retrofit, and a upfit for a truck that we bought in 2024 is our bridge truck. So you have to buy the chassis and then you upfit it with more of a mechanic's body, small crane. That was scheduled for 2025, but we didn't have the funding. So we put the old chassis on the truck when it showed up so we could use it. And this is the last would be to retrofit that to finish that truck.
What equipment are we buying now not bonded? Are you buying like trucks out of your operating budget? What's happening?
No, that was switched. I think we're in the third or fourth year of capital side on equipment.
I know it's changed. In the old days, it was always cash that we paid for things like this.
Cash and OTRs back then, yes.
And we would specify money for a grade all or whatever we had. So it is, as you say, a change, and now we're paying interest on these things that we weren't doing before. We're getting more equipment, I would think, but it's something for the future group to keep in mind.
Randy?
Yeah, Nick, I'm going to vote for this, but it'd be helpful, especially with a lot of new legislators coming, would be a complete list of all the equipment you have and then what your planned replacement is for those. So over the next 5 years or however many years you want to go, so that we can understand that better, it'd be helpful.
Yeah, we have that. Once we started, it was kind of in the background before, and then once we switched to the capital side with this, we came up with a 5-year replacement plan highlighted on a spreadsheet in colors. That's another reason that this is a little larger than it sounds, because there's been some cuts in the past, and this brings us back to hit that schedule. Okay. But we do have that, and we can provide it.
The budget we just passed anticipates these bond payments through the capital program?
If we were to bond, you wouldn't have to have a budget to pay until the year after. We still have some conversations and discussions to go through on this one. Still haven't spoken to fiscal advisors. I was asked to look into our options because the budget didn't include enough to keep up with the proposed replacement plan by highway. So this just kind of gives us opportunities. It does not obligate me to borrow, just gives me the authority to if we find that it makes sense. Also, I do want to point out a couple of the items on here. There's a huge lead time, so it is a possibility we may ban rather than bond right away. That way it leaves it open to pay down pieces with any additional funding that comes in. But once again, I haven't had an opportunity to strategize.
Further questions on Resolution C? Shall we vote? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution D, a bond resolution authorizing issuance up to $1,950,000 serial bonds and notes of Tompkins to acquire certain motor vehicles, ID number 13699. Is there a motion? Randy, second. Mike.
I can talk to this a
Okay,
little
Darryl.
here. So this was similar to the last one. Not enough of the budget was approved to keep up with the fleet plan, replacement plan. So I was urged or asked to look into some options or what we could do with the funding that was approved to keep us up with the proposed plan. Now, I do want to point out that, this does not obligate us to bond or ban. It just opens up that toolbox to allow us to look into it as an option. That $1,950,000 is actually for the proposed vehicles of 2026 and 2027, so that we could tie them together because these resolutions have to have the maximum cost. It also includes a little fluff, as to say, lack of a technical term, that gives us wiggle room in case inflation increases the costs. I still have to look into whether it makes sense to borrow for these vehicles based on the PPUs and such.
I see Terry online, and Terry, you outlined fleet considerations during the budget process. Anything you want to add?
I don't have anything else to add. I'm just here if there's any questions specifically.
Thanks. Greg?
So in the budget process, we have authorized a number of different vehicles. We authorized several patrol vehicles for the sheriff's department and et cetera. Is that what this is, bonding for those purchases?
It is. Go ahead, Terry.
My understanding is that it's bonding for the entirety of what was specified for necessity. It covers the full ask essentially, so it goes beyond what was budgeted originally.
So I guess maybe I'm the confused one, and if I am, it's a 9 a.m. meeting, Lee. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. We authorize in the budget process those dollars to be levied against the tax base to pay for the outright purchase of those vehicles. Is that a correct statement?
I believe so.
For some of the vehicles, right.
For some of the vehicles.
For the vehicles we authorized?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
What I was just looking to is to see what our option would be if we took that amount funded and leveraged it with debt to keep up with the full plan rather than just purchasing certain vehicles.
Okay. I love this approach. I guess I love it in the budget process discussion as opposed to outside the budget process discussion. It seems like respectfully, it seems a little bit bait and switch because I thought we were under the impression that we were purchasing vehicles with tax levy dollars and now the option to purchase more with debt financing, which I don't know, maybe I'm just rambling here for a minute, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around how we authorize something in the budget process, make the decision to move forward in that direction, and then the immediate meeting after the budget process, something different comes on how we're going to actually purchase these items, and more items than we authorize the purchase of.
So in the budget process, one of the questions that was asked was whether debt could be used to buy these vehicles. And Norma said that it could, but because of the time constraint, that wouldn't be able to be done in this budget process, and it would be looked at afterwards. And so that's where we've kind of arrived at this spot, because it was the legislature basically asked, could we use debt to buy some of these vehicles, and it had to be looked into.
So with this issuance, this gives you the authority to look into it, but it doesn't tell us what the cost of that is if they are issued, correct?
That's a Darrow question.
Correct. These resolutions authorize me, or the finance director, to borrow on behalf of Tompkins County. I still haven't, once again, reached out to fiscal advisors because, rates can change and whatnot. And whether I haven't even had a chance to work closer with Terry and county administration to see how this would work necessarily and what the cost is. This is just to give me authorization up to the maximum and kind of open up that toolbox. Otherwise, these have to go at a certain time of the year. If waited any longer, this option wouldn't even be an option.
I'm thinking back to the discussion at the budget level, Terry. Was there a combination of purchases and leases within that?
Yeah, so I think this year we were purchasing 5 vehicles and then leasing the remainder of the vehicles that we were going to be getting for 2026.
Okay, so there was some financing involved in that, and then the second
part.
part.
Through the leases, yeah.
And then going back, Darrell, you said this incorporates both 2026 and what was planned for 2027 in whole?
Correct.
Keep us on the schedule, which we may have amended at the budget, in the budget process for 2026.
Correct. And I included both years in case it made more sense after consulting with fiscal advisors to ban rather than bond right away. Once again, I'm not stating that it would make sense yet. They still have some work to do. But this would allow us to have the option to ban for both years and bond at the end rather than doing them as separate years, if that makes sense or if it's fiscally better.
Further questions, Randy?
Yeah, I'm on the same page as Greg, I think. And I know, Terry, you've done a lot of work on this, and you provided us more than one spreadsheet showing all the vehicles and what the plan is. Maybe an update of that after the budget season to show these are all our vehicles, these are the ones that were approved in the budget. And then when you get to the point of whether you want to finance also 26, 27, if you could bring it back to the committee before we make that move. But to understand what we approved, I think it was those 5 vehicles I thought that we approved in the budget, and what that dollar amount, I've forgotten what that is. But I think some clarity on this, and I appreciate another tool in your toolbox, and that makes sense to me. But if we've approved spending the cash in our 2026 budget, I'm not a real big fan of bonding vehicles, unless it's a long-term vehicle that you're going to have for 10 years or more or something. But I'd like more detail. So,
is the length of the bond for vehicles like road patrol vehicles or department vehicles, are these short bonds, or because we typically hold those vehicles for what, 3 or 5 year cycles?
So we're not bonding for any of the road patrol vehicles. We're continuing to lease those. Those are the ones that have the highest turnover, around 2.5, 3 years. The vehicles that we're looking to bond for are vehicles that we would hold on to for at least 5 years. And the discussion has been if it would be the possibility of getting a better bond rate if it was over 6, 7 years, whatever it might be. I think, there's the potential to extend it. I mean, 5 years isn't a hard and fast rule. It's best practice, but, there's mitigating circumstances that could happen, but we're not looking at bonding anything that's under 5 years.
Terry is correct. The PPU of the vehicles included in this resolution is 5 years. Still haven't looked at the vehicles in detail, but if there's anything in the list that we don't feel we would keep for 5 years, would have to be pulled out and couldn't be used, or we couldn't use bonding or banning for that.
Mike?
I was just trying to remember the discussion in EBC. I know Legislator Corman brought forth a proposal to buy all of the vehicles that were on the list, and the county administration hadn't recommended all of them. Her argument was that we ought to do that because we think it's going to be tough budgets in the next couple of years based on what was going on at the federal level and the state level. And I think we pared that down, but I think Terry's right. We did talk about maybe having to go to bond, but the purpose of doing it now was so that they wouldn't have to buy them in the next couple of years. And that's my recollection of what we did and why this is coming forth.
Yeah, again, I don't have any objection to this as a strategy. I guess I want to make sure that what we, and as much as I trust county administration and county finance to do the right thing, I want to make sure that we are clearly understanding what the financial implication is, you know, the cost based on what we approved in a levy. And if we bond, we're going to have ongoing costs of that vehicle purchase, as opposed to if we purchase them outright in this year, the money we authorized in the levy is one-time funds, and we may not have to have that expense in future years if we go with the theory that every budget year starts back at zero. So I'm a little hesitant to fully authorize the director of finance to just sort of unilaterally go out and bond for this without a larger discussion as it relates to what the 5-year cost of bonding is versus the one-time cost of purchase, which is what we authorized for a set number of vehicles.
Well, can't we just go ahead with this and say to Daryl, before you do anything like that, come back to committee and talk to us about what you're recommending?
Yeah, if there's a mechanism in that doesn't give unilateral authority for Daryl to go out and bond for these.
Well, Daryl works for us.
I understand that. And again, this is nothing to do with you personally, right? This is a math problem for me.
Right. Right.
I can point out that it is not uncommon from talking to bond counsel and fiscal advisors for certain municipalities to kind of ban to keep up with vehicle purchases. Historically, as far as I can tell, I haven't needed to come back to committee before bonding, but if that's the wish of the committee, pending holidays and timing, I can come back with what we've decided makes sense and share it.
Do you take this as a package, all of these resolutions together to prepare, or is there some well, packaging, if you will, that goes into these as a whole?
Maybe I can respond to that. This is Bill Markworth,
Yes,
Bond
Bill.
Counsel. The process is essentially that you guys typically have a bond anticipation note that you issue in the spring. And in order to include new money in there, the authorizations need to be completed now so that estoppel notices can be published in the paper, which is something the county does for good purpose, following the local finance law. And then once you've got your authorizations in place, then fiscal advisors and the administration can look at, all right, what really do we want to purchase with the new money, make the decisions, prepare an official statement, and go through the marketing process to hit the timing. So that's kind of why it's asked for now. and unfortunately, I'm kind of reaching as I think about it, is that you need to either approve or disapprove the resolution as drafted today without strings attached, because it's got to be part of that package that goes out with the publication. So if the conclusion is, hey, we included these vehicles in the budget, that's the path we're taking, that's the decision we made last month, I think this resolution would not be approved. If the path is we're going to delegate authority to the treasurer or the director of finance to make this decision when the time comes, then you'd approve it. But putting that condition in is inconsistent with local finance law as far as pulling the trigger and then publishing the estoppel notice.
What's the deadline for that we need to publish this stuff?
Let me try to look at some prior emails. I mean, it ties to the date. You've got a bond anticipation note coming due. You back up probably about 8 weeks from there, and that's when you need to start the process with fiscal advisors to pull together an official statement to describe the plan of finance. And then from there, you back up your estoppel notice period. You get to your ledge meeting, and then you back up to your committee meetings. So historically, over the years, I've served as bond counsel for you folks with David Squires and, folks going back. Really, I reach out to the county at the end of the summer saying, hey, let's talk about the fall authorization process. All with the idea that I don't want you guys to have to pay me twice if you decide, yeah, we're going to bond. You miss the bond anticipation note timeline in the spring, and then you've got to pay the cost of issuance for a later issue in the summer. So that's kind of the process, is to limit your cost of issuance and do one borrowing. But let me take a minute and look at my email, and maybe I can give you specific dates.
Yeah, my thought on these vehicles is it is a math equation. And if your interest rate you're paying is 3.5%, and we're collecting 3.5% on the money that we're investing, it's a wash. So I'm trying to understand the benefit, the financial benefit of this. Are we better off just using the cash we do have versus borrowing? Because these aren't as big dollars as other things. So my thought is, is it really a cost benefit? So
I see Drew popped up. Did you have anything you wanted to offer, or just here to observe?
Just in line with what Bill Marquardt was saying, that I believe it's around the 15th of February that the bond issuance needs to be paid off this year, maybe the 19th or so, but it's within a few days. It's the 15th of February. So as he was saying, backing up 8 weeks gets us to about the middle of December.
Well, we have another meeting of this committee on December 4th. I'd like some clarity on this particular one.
This also has to be voted by roll call at the legislature. So I feel better that it's not on the consent agenda and that there can be more discussion there as well, which personally, I do think the larger budget discussions, because we just passed a budget, should happen with the full legislature present. So if there's 3 of you that would move it out of the committee, I think that would be great.
How about 4 of us?
Well, we'll see about that, Mike.
All right, let's
I can chime in with a little more specificity on dates. The county's outstanding $9.8 million note was issued February 13th of 25 and comes due on February 13th of 26. That means the 26 band, the new money that's going to pay off the old money, should close around February 12th, 2026. Prior to closing is the pricing. That's when the interest rate is set in the market. That'll occur around February 1st. of 26. In order to hit that date, you have to mail your POS out to the preliminary official statement out to prospective investors around January 20th. And so we need to publish the 20-day estoppel notices prior to hit that January 20th date, which means you got to get your estoppel notices in the paper by the end of December, call it December 31st. That means your bond resolutions need to be adopted prior to December 31st. And I think you've got a ledge meeting on December 2nd. If you've got subsequent meetings in December after the 2nd, you can adopt at that later date.
The 2nd and the 16th, yep.
So the 16th is the last bite at the apple to include any new money financing in the February ban. Hope that helps.
Thank you.
Shall we vote? All in favor? 3, 4?
For Mike.
Okay. The motion carries. Thanks.
And that was the easy one.
We trust you, Daryl. Put a good package together.
Got one more.
Yeah, if you can save us money or make us money, by all means, like, come forward with those ideas. But if it's going to cost us more, then we really need to caution.
Resolution E, a bond resolution authorizing issuance of up to 18,050,000 serial bonds and notes of Tompkins County, New York, to pay a portion of the cost of various capital improvement projects at various county facilities. ID number 13700. And the big one. Go ahead, Mike.
I moved it.
Moved by Mike, second by Randy.
I expect this has to do with roofs.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
So I just have a question. So is this for the 5-year plan that we just went over with Arel?
Correct. So I took the 5-year plan and I was unsure of how much extra was added in there. So we added a little extra to each project, and one of the items was removed because it was for a leased vehicle. So that is why my figures for this do not add up to Arel's presented 5-year plan, because we have to pass the resolution with the maximum cost, not necessarily what we borrow, but the maximum cost of the project.
Okay, my question on that is that these projects aren't going to all happen in next year or the year after. It's over 5 years. So would we bond for only what we're going to be, why would we bond for something we're going to pay for in 3 or 4 years?
I will definitely take the opportunity later to speak with fiscal advisors and take their advice. However, my initial thought is that we would use a bond anticipation note to provide the funding for Arel to start for each year. And then as the years go, we add on the next year. It also opens up the availability to use any additional funding through the process of the budget or taxation to pay down those. It doesn't lock us in. But once again, I would have to defer to fiscal advisors and touch base with them first before we come to the final plan.
Is there a certain amount built into the budget that you're anticipating to put toward a yearly payment?
I believe $700,000 was approved in the budget for the facilities restoration plan.
Yep.
It'd be tight or not quite as much as you're going to need on $18 million over potentially 20 years.
So when it comes to the PPUs, we'll probably have to come up with a blended one because most of the buildings are 25 years. However, there are a few in there that are 15. So I'm unsure at the moment of what the length would be. And there's some items in here that it may be better to pay with cash rather than include in there. That's something I have to work with Arel also on cash flow needs to before we decide on the ultimate amounts to ban each year.
Greg?
Yeah. Am I in the same boat again that we authorized $700,000 for physical work or to be done, and then now this would be that we would take that 700,000 and apply it to debt service?
I was asked and encouraged to look into what we could take with what was budgeted and leverage it to complete or at least move forward in the 5-year deferred maintenance plan.
So is there a formula, rule of thumb for like figuring out a payment on an 18,050,000? Like how would we figure out what the yearly cost of this is? I guess sometimes my issue with these is like, let's approve something and not know how much. It's like writing a check I'm not sure we can cash.
Well, if it was blended, it looked like 18 million over 20 years on average. There's 900,000 plus interest.
If we were to outright bond, which I'm not suggesting that we do, using a 4% and a blended of 20 years, I think when I looked at it, it was approximately 1.3 million. However, I don't think that makes sense, and I would have to talk to fiscal advisors, but also see the length of time that Arel could be able to do those projects. And to iterate, if we were to use a bond anticipation note rather than a bond outright, if we could add additional funding to pay down that rather than ban. Now, the bond anticipation note, we would pay a certain percentage, let's just say 4%. I don't know how the market is at or how it'll land when we go. We would just have to pay that annually on the amount that we banned.
Okay.
Further questions?
I guess the same question comes up as we did with the vehicles. And I know we did talk about this in our budget discussions, that the plan was not to go back to the $1.4 million in our budget for facilities for this work, that we were going to try to focus on $700,000 per year going forward. That's why you're looking at this bonding. So I understand that. But I guess the same issue comes about as to when we bond and how, and you're going to look into that. So I think at our legislature meeting, we'll be prepared for those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I think that's a good point, Randy. Move it forward and understand there'll be plenty of questions.
Yep. Yep.
Further discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for being with us, Daryl.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Andrew.
You got the hot seat, right?
Have a couple of resolutions. Transportation, Frank, you're with us this morning. And Resolution A, accepting 2024-2025 Federal Transit Administration Section 5311 Grant Award for TCAT, Gadabout and Tompkins County, ID number 13649. Is there a motion to move by Greg, second Mike?
Yeah, hoping this can be a happy resolution for you all today. This resolution is to accept funding for the 5311 award, which is for rural areas. Last year in the wintertime, we applied for this award. Through that process, we worked with TCAT, Gadabout. We had a public process. We came to you all in the legislature to discuss what projects to apply for. I'm happy to report that we were awarded everything that we applied for in that application. I'm not going to go through every single project because if you see them in front of you, there's a lot of them. But it includes buses for TCAT and Gadabout. It includes mobility management funding. And it includes some operating funds, both TCAT and Gadabout. And then 2 new programs, Rides to Recovery and First Mile, Last Mile. The total budget for these projects comes out to about $7.1 million. 5.1 of those would be covered by the FTA, federal dollars. The state would match about $1.4 million. And then there would be a local share of about $500,000 that would come from both TCAT and Gadabout for their buses specifically. And And then the last thing I wanted to mention here is I just want to be clear that this resolution, the only thing it is doing is accepting this award. I'm going to have to come back to you all again in the coming months to actually execute the grants to do the projects. But for now, we're just saying, thank you, we will use this money.
Questions? Sounds good. You've anticipated the $537,000 in the budget for the locals here, or these agencies have?
It comes from TCAT and GAT. Yes.
Yeah.
It's not our budget.
It's not in the county budget for the local.
It's out of our contribution.
Right. I don't know how TCAT spends the local contribution, but the 10% local share for the TCAT and Gadabout projects comes from those entities. And then the rights to recovery and first mile, last mile, 50% I have to find a match for before we execute the contract. So right now, there is no Tompkins County government budget local share.
Thanks for your work on this. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can you touch on quickly what just rides to recovery and the first mile, last mile, since those are new, just maybe 1 minute on each one, if you can distill it that quickly?
You want me to?
Either.
Yeah. So through the mobility vision plan that you all adopted, first mile, last mile is to get people from their homes to the closest bus stop. Don't take the word literal 1 mile, because as you know, we're trying to hit rural, underserved, low-income communities, which could be 5, 10, 15 miles. The second program, Rides to Recovery, which we will be coming with our consultants to show you the statistics in Tompkins County, is to assist people in active recovery. I use that term loosely, active recovery for substance use disorder and mental health. And that will get those people rides to social determinants of health, which include food source, employment, education, medical.
And that is coordinated through who coordinates those rides?
That will go out to RFP.
Okay.
And then we'll wait and see who the RFP. Currently, through our mobility vision program, 211, we call it one call, one click, because it's a little separate. One call, one click handles rides currently for people facing transportation barriers.
Got it. Thank you.
Further questions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we also have a resolution authorizing acceptance of Federal Transit Administration fiscal year 2025 triennial review final report, ID number 13721. Motion, Randy, second, Mike. And
So, yeah, I'd like to give an opportunity to answer any questions and go through the triennial review. I purposely provided the full report so that everybody could understand the responsibilities of Tompkins County as the prime recipient of federal funds and the oversight that is required. I would have liked to come here with no deficiencies. Our goal was 5. We wound up with 7. So I do have a plan. I know you guys talked about the plan. So here is our plan. We've hired a consultant that is working with us right now to get the deficiencies closed and cured and submitted to the FTA by December of this year. In DBE, we received 5 deficiencies of the specific topic area. I want to give you an update on that. After receiving the list of deficiencies on October 3rd, 2025, on October 4th, the U.S. Department of Transportation has issued an interim final rule in the Federal Register in response to recent rulings in cases challenging the constitutionality of elements of the DBE program. FTA has yet to issue guidance to the recipients on the impact of the IFR on previously issued triennial review findings. However, fundamentally, the requirements related to 4 of the 5 deficiencies remain unchanged, with a few minor exceptions. We also understand that the requirement for 1 of the 5 deficiencies has been eliminated in the IFR. Therefore, Tompkins County, we intend to resolve the 4 deficiencies in a manner that is also responsive to the new requirements, and confirm with the FTA the 1 deficiency that is considered closed due to those recent changes in the IFR. As a result of these efforts, we will resolve deficiencies in the 2020 Triennial Review Final Report by the end of this fiscal year. That will help us remain compliant going forward under the new regulations. So for DBE, the plan is the consultants we're working with are going to fix everything we had deficiencies in. We're going to submit them to the FTA by December 31st. We have 1 deficiency in procurement that I'm working closely with administration. I'm anticipating that we'll submit it to the FTA for their approval to be in compliance sometime into December, January. Once FTA approves it, myself or somebody from finance or administration will come forward and get your approval of the update of the procurement policies and procedures for Tompkins County. That will be the final piece, your resolution that I'll need to submit to the FTA to close those. So the 5 deficiencies in DBE, the 1 in procurement, I am anticipating will be closed no later than, we'll say, February of 2026, which will make the FTA very pleased. The final deficiency is closing of old grants. I do not anticipate that in 2025 or 2026 that we will have that deficiency closed. I think we'll come close by the end of 2026 to close most of those grants, but I'll give you an update once we get closer to that.
We were certainly aware of that last item, that there were grants to be closed out and that have carried over for some time, so we shouldn't be surprised with that deficiency.
Yep.
Randy?
DBE is disadvantaged business enterprise?
Disadvantaged business enterprise, correct.
In the definition of that's changing by the FTA? So what's that?
No, the rules and regulations on DBE are changing because of the current administration.
Right. So once that comes out, if you would share that, what that actually means, I'd appreciate it. Show us what the changes were.
I would be happy to do that.
And so the 1 deficiency, thank you for sending the full report. I did read it. And I think that's the first time I've received the full report. So thank you. And overall, I thought it was a good report. But there was 1 deficiency that was repetitive. Was that the one that was about closing of?
I believe what was identified in the letter as the second one was procurement, the county's procurement procedures. Nobody's fault. I realized through this review what I needed to relay to administration of what we needed to do, and we're working very closely to get that done. But procurement was the repetitive deficiency in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Shall we vote to authorize acceptance of Federal Transit Administration Fiscal Year 25 Triennial Review Final Report? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Courtney, Frank, Thanks. Anything more?
Yeah, I'd just like to prepare you for, we've been working with a consultant, Britt, who I know you're familiar with, on a template for our Rides to Recovery program. It's going to be very interesting. I think you all are going to be surprised by the data that we've collected to put this report together so that we can go out for the 50% additional funding. So I'm hoping sometime in January, February, we'll be able to present that report. And I just wanted to make you aware that we had Federal Transit Administrator evaluators on site this week, evaluating the MOS project, Mobility as a Service project, that you accepted way back in 2019, that we kicked off for this year. And they've been on site gathering data and information, and once the final report is prepared, we'll be sharing that with you also. And that's it. Appreciate your time, and I just wanted to say, since this might be the last time we see Legislator Lane at this meeting, it's been a pleasure working with you. I know you're leaving. I appreciate our talks on Route 13 and trying to find signal lights and everything, and all the work that you've done to make this community better, so thank you.
Thank you for that nice comment, and I would return it and thank you for the work on trying to move this triennial review forward. I know that's been a heavy lift.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.
Mike, was it a picture I've seen with, were you on the original was it Tran ride?
Oh, yeah.
And then did you take the original TCAT ride too?
Don't remember the original TCAT ride, but I might have. Yeah, it was when I was still mayor of Dryden that I got to ride on the first Tran bus.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite pictures that you've shared over the years.
We've held our highway staff here through a long agenda, but one resolution for highway budget adjustment, highway machinery department, recognize and increase appropriation, ID number 13680. And it appears you've had a sale of equipment of $45,000 and are placing that toward some adjusting expense lines.
Yeah, everything is still landing on that side of the budget. That was the sale of, I believe it was one of our old trucks we replaced, and then some miscellaneous stuff. That's going to cover, I think we have it split in we're going to split it in a few different ways on the equipment side. One was for $18,000 dump truck transmission that went, and then some fuel and a few other lines to keep that budget whole.
We have a motion. Greg, second. Randy, questions for Nick? If not, shall we vote? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything you want to report to us after two hours?
Yes, a few staffing updates. I have Luke Hatch with me. He's been promoted to deputy. He's been with us for 6.5 years. The last 2.5, he's been a highway crew supervisor. We've moved him up, and he's ready for the fun. He's already been doing a lot right off the bat, so it's a good deal. And moving him up, that made a vacancy, highway crew supervisor, which we just promoted Greg Covert, which was one of our welders. Greg's been there, touched more than me. He's probably 8 years. And, as being a welder, he did some supervisory stuff, ran some small crews, and he was our successful candidate. So we're fully staffed on that end, and it's trickling down through. We got a few other vacancies to fill, but we're almost there.
Very good. Randy?
Not to say anything bad about town highway departments, but I've noticed that their safety when they're doing road work could be better. And so I've come up on things where all of a sudden they're working and there's no signs. And then sometimes it's on bad turns and whatnot. And I brought it up at a town meeting as well. But do you do, and I know you guys go through training, but can you talk about your training about safety and whether or not that could be shared with towns?
Yeah, so we follow with a lot of like our road closures and lane closures and all that safety setup follows the MUTCD, which is a manual for signs and traffic. You know, it covers all of that, which also it's adopted by New York State DOT. So that's what we follow. There's lots of different information out there. I will say each town is different in kind of what they do and how they do things. And they all work with us, so they kind of see how we do it, but we'd be more than glad to assist if a town, you know, came forward and wanted a little assistance with it.
Great. Share that.
I'll leave it alone. Signage is probably important for that.
A little bit.
Further, Greg?
Yeah, I recently was driving, and I think I saw Tompkins County Highway, town of Lansing, and maybe the town of Ithaca, all various trucks working together on, was that Pine Tree right there? And it was just, I don't know, it's kind of neat to see. And I was like, oh, what's Lansing doing all the way out here? But then, you know, probably one of their pieces of equipment or something was there. And it was just nice to see the intermunicipal cooperation, which I know your department prides itself in working together. But it was the first time I actually saw it in action where there was, I think, multiple entities there. And I just want to continue to encourage that and appreciate that cooperation amongst everybody working together.
So yes, that particular project, the town of Lansing was there because they just received, a grant through, I think it was Soil and Water, but they helped them with it, but it was a WQIP grant, water quality improvement, and they got to purchase a vac truck. So kind of in that trade, we've talked back and forth, and we thought we needed one a couple years ago and really wanted one, and then in talking with them, well, they wanted one as well. So we ended up writing a letter of recommendation to help them, and part of them receiving that, they have to assist in cleaning of catch basins and different things. So in our trade is we have a sweeper truck. So we'll go do some roadside sweeping for them and trade for them working with us with a vac truck. I mean, we trade everything frequently with all towns. You know, they need help, we need help. It's back and forth, but that particular project, that's why Lansing was there.
You know, this is a little bit of a side topic, but you open the door a little bit. Recently was in a meeting and heard from the head of Finger Lakes Land Trust. We were talking about harmful algal blooms and the role that road ditches play in sort of directing stormwater and runoff and nutrient-rich material that then contributes to the algal blooms in the lake. And it maybe not for today, but you know, it would be interesting at some point to have a conversation on how our highway department is thinking about the role that we can play, you know, through the various ditching that we do to eliminate that or help slow things down. You know, I know that there's different methods that are far beyond my scope of knowledge, but I thought that was really interesting, sort of hearing it for the first time and then hearing, you know, cleaning of catchment basins and all that kind of stuff. So I just make that as a comment because I know that that's an issue that's really facing our lake at the moment. And if there's something we can be doing to improve that, that is a good thing.
There definitely is a lot of different things that do lead to that. And I will say we are very aware and do some certain practices. And with soil and water and DC and different regulations, I'm sure there's always more, but we definitely are already doing some.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Mike, did I see a hand? Yeah, that just to Greg's point, one thing I learned very, very early on
coming down to the legislature and being a municipal government is how very, very important the ditching is to preserve our roads. And if you don't have the ditches taking the water off properly, they undermine and you lose the surface. So whatever happens, and if they want to look at changing, you got to also understand that these guys have to try to protect their roads.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Sure. Well, thank you,
Welcome.
everybody.
I think you're from out in my neck of the woods.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Well, we won't hold that against you.
Actually, his father and I went to school together.
It's close to Dryden, so
It's
it's
close.
all right.
We'll take it. You're always welcome in Dryden.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
Quick report, anything downtown facilities for us today? I heard you discussing possibly not a December meeting.
No, we did authorize at a legislature meeting about deconstruction, and that process is, I believe, going to start in some of the buildings of abatement in December.
Very good. Questions for Randy? Are there any committee reports? We've got, just for informational purposes, a couple of budget adjustments and transfers, Highway Department and Airport.
I had something, if you got just a minute, a couple of items. One, I just wanted, on transportation, I know we've been trying to do electric vehicles, and right now, because of what's going on at the federal level, electric vehicles are up in the air. I see that Ford Motor Company just discontinued its production of the electric pickup truck, the 150, even though they just started it a year or so ago. So that's, I think, kind of interesting. So we know whether there are going to be trucks available eventually to running on electric. I don't know. I just wanted to say that. The other thing is, had an opportunity to meet with our new director of the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council, Tom Knipe, who was, of course, before he went with the city, had been with our county and our planning department. He's coming forward exactly the right way, interviewing and talking with all of the people who are associated with ITCTC. Fact is, when he talked to me, he told me I was the 34th interview he'd had. So I was very impressed that he was doing that and trying to get information. I suggested to him, and I will suggest to whoever is chairing this committee next year, that there be a regular report asking from him, at least maybe quarterly or something like that. But he really, there ought to be a place on the agenda for him. Now, we used to have Fernando come and talk to us, but I don't think we had a regular spot for him, or so that he could update you on projects that are going around the county and the money coming in. Interesting enough, there are only 2 MPOs in our whole region of New York State Highway Department. One is Onondaga County, and one is ours, and we're one of the smaller ones. So that's kind of interesting. The whole Region 3 only has 2 MPOs.
Thanks, Mike. Greg?
Yeah, without objection, Lee, from you as the chair, I would look to our clerk, Jordan, to maybe preemptively put ICTs, I can never get all the
ITCTC.
Yes, what Mike just said on the.
You can also call it the MPO.
Yeah. Minitrack, right, or whatever?
No, that's Metropolitan Planning Organization.
No. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Jordan for.
Sorry.
Essentially, put a placeholder on the agenda quarterly for that, so that Lee as either chair, or if there's another chair coming into this, we don't lose the continuity of the conversation.
I will add it to the template.
Thank you. And I appreciate, Mike, the last 2 years, you're continuing on as a liaison to the transportation agencies. And you have kept us posted on some of the major things.
Yeah,
but
there'll have to be a new liaison next year.
Yeah.
And we're on the policy committee, but I used to like to go to the planning committee meetings too, when I could, because you hear a lot of the boots on the ground discussion there.
Thanks. Anything further from the committee? If not, is there a motion to adjourn? Looks like it. Thanks. Sure. Where's your? We don't need one. We don't need one.
We covered a lot of ground.